Welcome to the BVTV network, coming to you from the UK studios of BizVision. I'm your host, Malcolm Gallagher. Now, this is episode 3 in the Short-Changed trilogy with the author of this book, Short-Changed. Hello for the final time, Dr. Jim Wright. Welcome, Jim.
Good to see you again.
Jim, I'm thoroughly enjoying our conversation. And as I hoped, it's provocative, and that's what we should be doing. Otherwise, everybody just goes with the flow, don't we? And then we become like lemons. Jim, as the founder and CEO of JK Lasers, a world leader in the development of lasers for industrial, medical, and research applications, you'll have met inspiring leaders from all walks of life. The same as I've done with my BVTV viewers. Now, you've got us all thinking with episodes 1 and 2. Now, can you lay out a map for us to achieving what you call a better way?
Thank you. Well, I'm afraid I can't lay out a complete map and I know what to do. It's more an approach to finding the way forward. As I say in part 3 of the book, is finding the way. It's not a done deal. I'm not here to tell you how it should work. But I borrowed from my experience of developing new products where, you're looking to get a product that people don't know that they want. That's the product that really sells, like the Sony Walkman. It just came out and it was, and the iPhone for that matter, in more modern times than my history. But so I would think, about what the market really needed. Like it's a vague concept. It wouldn't be very clear, like through a glass darkly. And you'd think about what it needed to do. And then I brainstorm that with colleagues who also were trying to think about the same thing. And then maybe we get a less murky view of the concept. But we were trying to get down to what it was you want. And then it's important to sort out the musts from the wants. So you need to get down to a list of musts. And then at that stage, you can start the development, you do the tests and trials, and need to involve an awful lot of people to get a really good product. And certainly if you're talking about how do we change the world, as it were, or at least Britain, you need an awful lot of people to be involved, which is really why I would like my message to go far and wide. But I came up, and I'm going to read from the book now, that what I thought there were political musts, as I said, and the economic musts are necessary. So the political musts are necessary to end the domination of party politics in Parliament. First, selection of parliamentary candidates to be undertaken by independent constituency means. We have to find those means. There's lots of ways that suggestions that people make. Second, elected MPs to sit without any obligation whatsoever to any political party and to be able to vote as they think fit in the best interest of the country and their constituents. 3, and I'm not saying that I don't expect the candidates to have the left and right views, but they don't have to be bound by them. Major policy proposals to be debated in all constituencies prior to consideration and enactment in Parliament. I think it's important that they then know what their constituents want before they do the enactment in Parliament. Election funding to be provided entirely by the state and fairly distributed on a constituency basis. We want to stop the rich men getting their things. We've seen the sleaze of the past week. It's got to end, and it can only end if we ban all of it, not just try and control it. Control doesn't work, so why would we expect it to work next week? And lastly, on the political must, it's my belief that we need to reform or replace the second chamber to make it more democratic.
Yeah.
And as for
go on, sorry, Karen, Jim.
I'm going to move on to the economic must now. Yeah. And these are necessary to end the wealth extraction by the rich. First of all, we need to accept the inherent truth of modern monetary theory, which has now become quite popular, that it's unnecessary for the government to borrow from the rich in order to fund public common sector activities. Secondly, I believe the government needs to absorb the financial sector, the money breeder economy, in my words, into the real economy and take control of all future third-party UK investment needs. That way, they will be running the country, not just the bit of it that the money breeder economy isn't running. Markets don't manage anything, and we shouldn't let them. So that's a bit of a side there. My third point, reward. We need to reward people for what they do and not for what they have. We need to place the management of all organizations, productive and services, whether public or private sector, firmly in the hands of the people who work in them. They know what they're doing. There's so much, life is so complicated. The idea that one man at the top knows everything is ridiculous. And finally, I believe we have to gradually make the UK independent of the global financial market. So, there's quite some challenges to meet. So, I mean, my book is about asking people to think about it and think what they do. It's really a management problem. It's not economics. It's not financial. It's how do we want our country to be managed? And if I've got time, Malcolm, just finish with two things I've learned from my management training. The first is that you can't manage anything that you don't have full control over. You can't effectively manage it. And the second thing is that bottom-up management beats top-down management every time. And the first one, I think you think of it as this giant oil tanker traveling this, this is the global economy, traveling the world, but there's no captain. Various people try to grab hold of the wheel from time to time, but nobody's in charge. It's crashed once. Well, it's crashed more than once, but crashed, remember the 2008. It's going to crash again. So that's why I say we have to get off this ship. And going back to the bottom-up management, I mean, that's historical. I mean, maybe when there were very few people that were educated, we needed, those people to run the country. And, they've done a decent job. I mean, we're all better off than we were. I'm not totally against what history, but now we've got all of the people in Britain, or 90%, are well educated. We understand things, and there's so much knowledge, and we need to use that knowledge to run the bits that they know about. So we need a leader, not that is telling us what to do. We don't know what the Prime Minister has to say. The Prime Minister is meant to be more like the conductor of an orchestra or the manager of a football team. He can't play all the instruments. He can't play in all the positions. He's got to understand the talent is below, and it's to orchestrate that vision and let the people decide.
Thanks, Jim. Now, let me remind our audience of, by the way, you are now making us think. Remind our audience of your URL, your website address for the book, which is, obviously, viewers, you can see on the screen behind me, but for listeners, let me spell it out. It's all the W's, short-change.com, short-change.com. Jim's book, this one, Shortchanged: How the Rich and Powerful Extract Wealth from the Real Economy and What We Can Do About It. And it's published by Silverwood Books. Jim, you set out for all the proceeds of this book to benefit charity. So tell us about this.
Well, I have to admit, in writing this book, I always felt a bit guilty because if you read most of the books, like Michael Hudson's, they all talk about the 1%, and I've extended to the 10% because 10% do benefit, because actually I was lucky and I crept into the 10%. So I don't need any more money. I got to the point where sufficient is enough. This going for more is not what. So I decided I didn't want to make money from the book. So I decided to donate it to the Fair Share charity for three reasons. Firstly, it's non-political, which is my stance. Secondly, it's for a fairer world, which I totally believe in. Yes. And finally, they're getting rid of the waste, and I hate waste. So yes, they're the practical reasons. And of course, I hope it will encourage you to buy the book.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I started this trilogy by reminding all our viewers and listeners that our strapline here at BVTV was for inspiring thought leadership. To achieve that, I aim to never avoid any different or even controversial thinking, always provided that what we bring you is not solely critical, but is also constructive. I trust you found that we've delivered for you exactly that with the author of this book, Shortchanged. Thanks, Dr. Jim Wright.
Thank you.